Okay, so we finally got one of the cursed spirits, like, up to bat now. It's been so long since, like, the character was introduced, but, I had to go and look. I had to go, like, look on the wiki and stuff, trying to be like, does this guy have a name yet? But it wasn't. This character does not currently, at least in canon. Like, maybe he's got a name, it just hasn't been said yet, or it just hasn't gotten a name yet. But, chapter begins similar to where we left off. We left off right at the fight with Choso and in Yuji. And it looks like Yuji has been beaten. He did not manage to take down Choso. But there is like a thing, as we were given at the very end of the chapter, where he has like a memory kind of flash into his head of something that never happened. And from that, it's like a flashback where you have Choso, Kechizu, and Eso, as well as with Yuji, and they're all like, they've got like, interestingly enough, the other painted womb, like cursed spirit items. I'm trying to remember exactly, because there was 9 of them, I believe. The top 3, without being Kechizu, Eso, and Choso. But we still have all those others that they don't have currently with them, and they still see them as brothers. Like, they're all, clearly part of the same, the same woman. I don't think her name was given, but all those guys from that were experimented on and stuff from Kamo, and they even before they even got their flesh, they clearly saw each other as brothers. So they have to have some sentience while they're like in that little aborted state. And from this, you have like this weird memory set going into Choso's head, something that clearly never occurred. It couldn't. It's not even like something that like, oh, maybe like some lost memory. No, it couldn't have ever occurred in the timeline. It couldn't have happened. So this is like weird for him to kind of like figure out. And at first, I was thinking maybe it had to do with the 2 girls from Ghetto Squad that show up to go. That clearly they were looking for Yuji, and they're in the stall with him. And they're like, all right, let's begin. I'm guessing this is gonna be their own plot stuff going on. Everything with them wanting to get back Ghetto's body. But people were quick to note that this actually wouldn't have a consistent kind of setup with what we saw with Todo, when Todo had a flashback of stuff that never happened, of like a life where he lived with Yuji as well. And there was like, oh, well, maybe Sukuna's doing it. I don't think Sukuna was doing it, because while like the first page, like Sukuna seems like in question of what was about to happen. So I'm wondering if this is going to be Yuji's power, as Yuji has this ability to kind of like almost beat memories into people, like beat like the idea of like a life with them, kind of like have what was that guy's name in Bleach? Tsukishima, I think. He was the Fullbringer, who he had that power where he could, when he could cut you, he could put himself into your memory to kind of so you were always, like, it make you think that you guys were always, allies. I think that's how his power worked. I can't remember if it's like memory manipulation, or if he could like straight insert himself into like your past. It has some like weird time manipulation or something. I don't really remember entirely, but you know what I mean. If you've ever read Bleach, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe something like that, because it has been noted by Akutami that Akutami was, is a fan of Bleach. So it'd be really cool to incorporate like a power, especially one like that that's very underutilized. It was like it's a really impressive power, but like if it's able to be brought into Jujutsu Kaisen in theme, but go towards the main character, something that's going to be used more often, because like I said, very good power. There's always those really good powers in series that are on characters that don't get a lot of spotlights, or never utilized as high as they could be, which is where I would really like that interest, because I've seen that a lot. Hiromashima does that a lot. You got like for instance, Crash Cookie's power from Rave Master going on to Guild Arts, and he could easily have a bunch of like weaker like powers that were on weaker characters in Fairy Tail going into Eden Zero. And it'd be really cool, just like when you have from a fan's perspective, when you really think about it, because when you have a writer who is an admitted fan of something else, it's cool in the idea of if they have that same kind of mindset as like you would have as a reader, of like, man, this is a really cool power. I wish I could see this on a character that gets like more attention, and to see it utilized more. And it would be really cool if that's what possibly is going to be like the way of like what Yuji's ability is. I don't know. I just think that's really cool, at least from in my perspective of. Yeah, that would be really badass to see like like a character forged like that, and the mindset of it being from a writer, but also as a fan of something, and recognizing that same like, man, I wish this was used more. But after that point, we get the member of the Cursed Spirit Squad, who is, he's been there since like the start, like the weird like little squid octopus looking dude. It was funny because of the setup, like when he was, brought into the scene, he's like hiding behind a pillar. He seems a little frightened, and I like out of like this, the main character crew that's like going into it. You have Nanami and Maki, who I like both of them, but you have Naobito, who is like a complete like piece of shit. He's clearly a jerk. He does not come off as a good guy at all, and he had. He's the one that seems to be getting the fight right now. He gets his curse technique onto the little octopus guy, like before Nanami or Maki had a chance to really figure out what was going on. And I like the setup for his power. Like he traps him in like this clear square that it makes me think of like the Phantom Zone from like DC, like stuff with Superman. And I just think it's really cool. It's like you can trap him in there and it just sets him up for like really easy hits. I think that's actually a really cool power, and it gives a really unique new brawler to add into Jujutsu Kaisen, because we have Yuji, but for the most part, a lot of the character powers are they're set in more of like the kind of like more of like a style of being like, oh yeah, it's a very weird power, and seeing how they incorporate it in there, but something that's just like a pretty much a setup for just like big bare knuckle brawl is really cool. But I was like seeing like him throw hands with this guy, and I was a little bit worried because I know that he should be a cursed spirit like of special grade class, and he's like beating up on him really quick and like laying hands to him, and like the dude just kind of like spits up a bunch of like skeletons, and after that point he's all worried. He's like thinking of the other cursed spirits like Jogo and Mahito, Hanami, but then he remembers like Hanami's death, and he gets all pissed off, and he like sheds through like his skin, like molts and becomes this much bigger one. And now Beto like explains like the reason he was weak is because he was a cursed womb, so he wasn't finished in his whole metamorphosis of becoming stronger and becoming like what he's actually supposed to be, like becoming into this shape of this like weird Cthulhu looking monster. I'm wondering how big he is now, like in comparison, because you can see him, his frame, but we don't have like a comparison of like how big he is compared to Naobito. But I'm guessing like he's gonna be like a big bulky dude, probably bigger than Hanami. And seeing what his power is gonna be is really cool, because we know that like out of the big special grades out of that group, they were all based off of like something that. I mean, Mahito is just weird because he's based off of like humans' fear of each other, but Hanami was like supposed to be like force and like plants and stuff. Jogo is like mountains and volcanoes and fire and heat and stuff. And I'm guessing that this guy, just given the squid look, that he's gonna be water. I have to go back and look, but I don't know if his power's been used at all. But I think I've assumed that he's been water. I know there's a part, I just remembering that while they're in their kind of like base and they're like at that beach side, that he's like floating around in the water. So I'm guessing he's gonna be like themed of life of the oceans and whatnot. But anyway, other than that though, it was a pretty interesting opening of the arc of the chapter, like going into like the stuff with Yuji and Choso. But the ending it up like with a different fight is very intriguing, and so I'm wondering like where Akutami is going to take the stuff with Yuji, and just seeing Naobito fight I think is going to be really cool, because he's from the Zen'In clan. He's supposed to be really powerful, and we got to see what that obstacle that Maki is going to have to eventually overcome to become the head of the Zen'In clan in general. And we're actually also thinking it's going to be really cool if Toji shows up, because Toji was part of that clan, and I'm guessing that he's going to have a lot of animosity towards Naobito in general. But other than that, comment below, tell me your thoughts are about this, and what do you think this is going to be coming up? Like, do you think it'll be more of Toji going towards Megumi or going towards Naobito? Because both of those present really interesting, fights and character opportunity. But other than that, comment below, tell me your thoughts are about this chapter, and I'd really appreciate thumbs up the video, press the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Further than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.